folks, I want to do a video today for all those people out there who want to go ahead and build their own rifles from scratch and maybe a little confused as to which parts they should go ahead and buy. There's a lot of information out there on different forums and blogs that will tell you buy this manufacturer, don't buy that manufacturer, buy this guy, don't buy that guy, this guy's better, that guy's junk. And in this video I want to go ahead and go through each component of the rifle and briefly discuss what it is that you should go ahead and spend your money on, what you shouldn't spend your money on. And I'm going to air out also a lot of these manufacturers' dirty laundry and their little secrets as to which parts they actually do manufacture in-house, and you'll be surprised how many parts they actually don't manufacture and have other people manufacture for them, and they just go ahead and put their own name on it. And through this, I hope that people will go ahead, next time they build their rifles, will be able to make better judgments and better decisions as to building their rifle and not spending a lot of money of $2,000 on a boutique parts and different boutique rifles to go ahead and get that custom look. You can go ahead and get a nice custom made rifle that you built for yourself with the same quality components through spending half as much money. I want to start with what is the backbone of the rifle, and that is the lower receiver. As long as this lower receiver is made from 7075 T6 heat-treated aluminum, it is just fine. What people might not tell you, or what you might not know, is that companies like DPMS, Rock River Arms, Spikes Tactical, all these manufacturers, or these gun companies, do not manufacture the receivers in the house. They actually OEM them from other manufacturers, and it's very likely they're all using the same manufacturing plant to go ahead and make their lower receivers. While certain companies like, now it is Remington, but it used to be Bushmaster or Wyndham Arms as they are nowadays, Olympic, Daniel Defense, and these other guys might manufacture their own receivers in the house. There is no difference between any of those manufacturers and the cheaper manufacturers of these receivers, or the lower price receivers such as DPMS or Spikes Tactical or whoever you get out there. As long as you go ahead and get a 7075 T6 heat-treated receiver, it is just fine. They're all the same thing. The only difference will be that stamp on the side of the receiver that says the receiver's manufacturer. So if you're worried about resale value or things like that, yeah, you can go ahead and buy the more expensive receiver. But if you want a nice rifle that works, and you don't want to spend a lot of money and waste a lot of money on all the bling bling, go ahead and get yourself the cheapest American-made 7075 T6 heat-treated receiver you can find. It is just fine. The next thing is the parts kits. Again, all the parts kits are the same exact thing. There are only 3 manufacturers in America and 1 in Canada who manufacture lower receiver parts kits for the AR15/M16 rifle. All these manufacturers in America, the 3 in America and the 1 in Canada, manufacture for government contracts as well as civilian sales. So whether you buy a parts kit from Rock River Arms or Bushmaster or DPMS or Spikes Tactical or whoever you get them from, they're all going to be the exact same thing. There is one small caveat to that though, and that is a certain company is importing parts kits, low receiver parts kits, made in Turkey. Now these parts kits are a bit more inferior than the American-made ones. They're a bit softer metal. The hammers wear faster, the triggers wear faster, and that is the one thing to watch out for. However, it is impossible to tell them from just by looking them with the naked eye as to which one is which. So again, if you buy an American-made parts kit, it is just fine. Now the last thing about the lower receiver I want to talk about is the receiver extension and the buffer and the spring and all those components. I went ahead and did a video about that. See my video. It'll explain everything you need to know about the receiver extension / buffer tube. It'll explain to you which ones you can and which ones you shouldn't buy. Just want to remind everybody to go ahead and use 2 receiver end plates on the buffer tube. When you go ahead and tighten this down, it'll give a lot of extra strength and prevent the buffer tube from spinning on its axis when it is put onto the lower receiver. As for upper receivers, just like the lower receiver, as long as it's made from 7075 T6 heat-treated aluminum, it is just fine. They're all the same thing. Again, manufactured by only a handful of people in this country. If you want to go ahead and get yourself one of those boutique upper receivers like the Noveski with that smaller brass deflector, go ahead. But keep in mind, it is no better or worse than the standard T6 heat-treated 7075 aluminum upper receiver. As for bolt carriers and bolts, to manufacture a bolt carrier or a bolt, which is a solid piece of steel milled out of a larger piece of steel, it is an expensive and time-consuming process. It is such an expensive and time-consuming, difficult process that it doesn't pay for the smaller manufacturers to go ahead and keep on staff the skilled personnel and the machinery, to invest in the machinery to go ahead and manufacture these things. That is why there's only, again, a handful of companies across the country that go ahead and manufacture these in large production runs. One of you know might be Colt. Another one that people don't know about so much is Continental Machine Tool. If you look at the military's bolts, a lot of them say CMT, which stands for Continental Machine Tool, and they're out of Connecticut. Now, you might know this company, CMT, by its civilian name, which is Stag Arms. Stag Arms is a civilian division of CMT. Go ahead and get yourself some Stag Arms bolts, because they are GI quality bolts that are manufactured for the US government. However, they are the cheapest ones you can find out there on the market of good quality. I believe a complete bolt carrier from Stag Arms runs for under $150 nowadays, retail. Now, if you want to go ahead and get yourself those chrome line bolts or any of those fancy bolt carriers, keep in mind they look great in a rifle, they're cool to have, but functionally they are no better than a regular standard USGI bolt and bolt carrier. Selecting a barrel all depends upon what your intended purposes of the rifle are. If you want your rifle to shoot sub-MOA at 500 plus yards, or you want to take this rifle to different sniper style competitions or different matches, then go ahead and buy yourself one of the better barrels from either Hart barrel manufacturers with their cryogenically treated AR15 stainless steel barrels, or one of the other big barrel manufacturers, and get yourself that competition national match barrel. However, if you want to build a simple military style carbine or a fighting carbine, defensive carbine, go ahead and get yourself the cheapest barrel that is chrome lined from one of the big American manufacturers that you can find. And I'll tell you why. While some might say you have to buy Colt, you have to buy this, you have to buy that, again, like most other parts and components in this rifle, they are made only through a select few manufacturers, and when certain manufacturers cannot meet production runs, they'll actually buy from other companies. And here's what I mean. I used to work for a company that would sell a lot of parts to Mossberg. Now, once I was talking with someone from Mossberg, actually an executive VP at Mossberg, and he told me that about the barrels. And I asked him about his AR-15 barrels if he would sell us some, and he said sure. And he even told me that when Colt and when Stag Arms were doing big production runs and they couldn't meet up with their with the demand, they would buy from Mossberg. And I went ahead and verified the story with someone at Colt and someone at Stag Arms, and they confirmed that yes, when they cannot meet production runs, they went ahead and bought from Mossberg. And the same is true with Stag when they would buy from Colt, and Colt would buy from Stag. So again, much like these other components, they're manufactured by a select few companies, and they go ahead and when they cannot meet production runs, they go ahead and buy from other people. So just because you're buying a Colt barrel doesn't necessarily mean you're getting a Colt barrel. You could be getting a Mossberg barrel. So again, go ahead and get yourself the cheapest one you can find. And I like Stag because I think for $140 you get yourself an M4 profile, 1-in-9 twist, chrome lined barrel, and I find those to work great. They work, you know, there's nothing you cannot do with that barrel that for a fighting carbine that a $300 barrel will do better for you. Again, for defensive carbine purposes or fighting rifles, they are both equally the same in terms of that function. As to twist rates, some people like a 1-in-7. I prefer a 1-in-9 for a few reasons. Number one, most ammo that I shoot is 55 to 62 grain, which is designed for 1-in-9 twist. I'm not shooting anything above 62 grain because, quite frankly, the ammo is too expensive at that point that I cannot afford to go ahead and shoot 77 grain ammo all day long. As to the profile, I personally like medium or lightweight profile barrels. However, if Stag has on sale at the time a M4 profile barrel for the cheapest price, that is the one I go ahead and buy. One of the things people often ask about is gas pistons and how do I feel about them. Well, I'm not frankly a big fan of gas pistons, and for a few reasons. First of all, as you've seen from my other videos, I'm not a big fan of these types of gas blocks. I find that when they're not pinned on, they lack a certain structural instability in that they can easily be canted. The gas block can easily be canted either to the left or to the right a few degrees, or move forward or back, and what happens is the gas port in the barrel will then be covered and the rifle will cease to function as a semi-auto rifle. Another thing I'm not a big fan about is it adds extra weight, and it is not any more reliable than a direct gas impingement rifle. There are no reliability issues I find with a direct gas impingement gun that is reasonably maintained that a gas piston will then go ahead and solve. Yes, there's things about carrier tilt and all the stuff that people talk about, and quite frankly, I don't find carrier tilt to be a major problem. There are buffer tubes that go ahead and adjust for that issue, and quite frankly, most people will not shoot 20,000 plus rounds in their lifetime, which you would need to go ahead and see carrier tilt causing an issue. But again, I am not a fan of gas pistons. I find them to make the rifle more complex and actually more susceptible to damage of different components. A direct gas impingement gun is actually inherently simpler than a gas piston. There are fewer components in a direct gas gun than there are in a gas piston system. And I've tried them on many different rifles, and quite frankly, I've taken them all off my ARs. I've gone back to direct gas. There's one case where I do advocate gas piston systems, and that is in a 5.45 rifle. This rifle is 5.45 by 39. It is a very corrosive round when you buy it in bulk, and I like the round because it is very similar to 223, and it enables you to go ahead and shoot and practice a lot with your AR15 rifle while still maintaining a reasonably low cost of training ammo. And the problem with a round that is so corrosive, I find that even in the course of 6-7 hours that the rifle isn't cleaned right away, and you will start to see rust spots on components on the inside of the rifle. So with that particular case, I advocate a gas piston system. As you can probably tell to now, I've pretty much advocated taking the less expensive way out of building this rifle. That I'm advocating that in order to go ahead and build this rifle, your AR-15 rifle, to a nice standard, you don't have to spend a lot of money. So what is that you should spend your money on? Well, quite frankly, on training and ammo, and to a lesser extent optics. Go ahead and get comfortable with the rifle, build it, get comfortable with it, and shoot it and train with it. Go take a good carbine course, or take a couple carbine courses, get some range time, and that's what really makes a difference. You can have the best rifle in the world, but if you have no skill, that rifle is useless to you. And a lot of people tell me today, you know, especially these days when times are tough, that they don't have the money to go ahead and buy a lot of ammo. Buy a cheaper rifle and go ahead and get more ammo. And another thing is, there are a few things on the rifle you should go ahead and buy that personalize it to you. These are generally inexpensive things. Like I like ambidextrous controls because I am left-handed. Some people might want to go ahead and put a grip on there if they feel it helps them out better. Okay, these things can go ahead and be done. Go ahead and get yourself a more comfortable stock if you like, or go ahead and get yourself a quad rail if you're feeling going to put the optics forward. So those things you go ahead and put your money on, but again, remember, none of those things will make your rifle better or worse. What really makes your rifle better or worse is you and your skill level. So go ahead and go out there, buy more ammo, save your money on the rifle, buy more ammo, and go ahead and get yourself some good training.